Does it matter much? I don't think it matters.
I think it's fine.
All right. Okay, sorry guys, let's go. Hey guys, I'm here with Lauren Conlin. She's here in San Diego for a really quick second. We're doing a free Q&A seminar tonight with Paul Ravella and Brett Contreras, and while she was here, I really wanted to take advantage of her presence to talk to her. And I think this is really timely because one of my favorite posts of yours recently was one of your rants on Instagram, and I was like, yes.
Deleting my social media?
Yeah, and I know I got a lot of likes and I got a lot of comments and a lot of shares in particular, and it just showed me that a lot of people resonate with that frustration you've been feeling. People taking shortcuts in the industry, pretending to be someone they're not, charging insane rates that they have no business charging.
Yeah, that's really my biggest gripe. So this post was just a lot of just frustrations kind of built up, and yeah, I basically started out with like, I've wanted to like delete my Instagram. I've pretty much talked about this forever that like I'm not a big social media person. Like
it's so frustrating.
You know, growing up, like I didn't do it because I liked it. Like I just like was like, oh, whatever. And I always looked at it as like work, you know, and that's what it is to me. And like I enjoy connecting with people, like no doubt. But like if, you know, like I'm just more of like an in-person kind of person. So, you know, me wanting to delete it is like kind of like normal, but then it's just been so frustrating because I would see post after post after post, the same shit. And all these people like just saying so much without saying anything. And they're using all these like buzzwords and like
they're being so salesy.
So it's just like, oh my God, what are you even saying? Like, what are you doing? Like, stop it. Like, oh, and it was so frustrating. Like, basically the new trend of like overcharging. And I get it. Like, I am not about undercharging because I'm not.
Yeah, like know your worth.
Like, my coaching is not the cheapest.
Yeah.
By any means, right? But I would say that me and my coaches and my team, you know, we know we're educated, and we've been doing this for, you know, quite a few years, and people who are just starting out who have zero background, education, or experience are charging triple what I would charge.
And they're calling themselves experts.
And I'm like,
things that you and I probably, like, I don't feel comfortable calling myself an expert in like fat loss, or like, I'm like, I know a decent amount.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like I've been doing this for a while. Yeah, so it's so alarming. And pretty much these people are being sold the dream because they're vulnerable. I don't know what it is besides that, you know, like you're just being preyed on by somebody else, and they're like, yeah, just do it, like this hype man. And it's like, I don't feel comfortable doing that, and like, you know, and I don't promote that at all, and I don't recommend that for people. Like if you're actually gonna start coaching, you need to have a basic, you know, the basic foundation. So you either need to have an education background or an experience background, ideally both. Ideally you have both, like that's the best combination in my opinion.
This is not to say that we don't encourage pursuing your dreams. I'm all for doing what you're passionate about, and if you can make money doing it, that's amazing. We've been lucky enough to be in that position, and I think in a lot of ways the whole online sector blowing up in recent years has been really good in that it's really encouraged people to take risks and do things that make them uncomfortable and do stuff like that, and a lot of good has come out of it, but I think there's also an ethical line that should not be crossed. Don't profess to be more of an expert and more qualified than you actually are. I think there's a difference between being confident and actually being fraudulent.
Yes.
There's a big difference, and people I think get the two confused. And taking shortcuts that don't serve you well long term. Maybe just being shady because you want to get ahead.
Yeah, and looking only at the short term.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. And so I wanted to talk to Lauren specifically today about this topic because I know she's been going off about this a good amount when I love it because I don't think it's being said enough. And Lauren is an example, and we've known each other for several years, of someone who has really built her career over the past several years with integrity, and now she's got a very successful business with 2 coaches under her. She's got helpers, and it's becoming like a really legitimate, like growing company with more and more people. I wanted to ask you more about how that happened. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I was in my undergrad when I decided to start coaching. I was 3rd year. Well, I had been a dietetics major, then I switched to exercise science. So I was in my 3rd year, and I had been being coached this time, and then somebody approached me like, hey, could you coach me? And I'm like,
you're like, no.
I'm like, I have a coach?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. And I'm like,
it's so funny.
Okay, you know, and then I just started with that, you know, and then I was like, well, I just had a client. And then she had a friend, and then I helped her out.
Right.
And then I had a few people to gym. So literally I had like 3 to 5 clients for like months, right? Like I was never like talking about it. I was undergrad focusing on that. started picking up people here and there, and then I graduated, and at this point I was competing. So I was in school learning about exercise science.
Remember you were in figure for a while?
Yeah,
the figure world.
Oh yeah, I was a figure competitor.
Yeah.
Definitely not pro. NPC figure competitor. I was at Florida State for my bachelor's in exercise science. I was helping out with research. Then I was like, and had a few clients. And then I was like, okay, I'm really interested in doing this more. So let me go get my master's. So I decided to pursue my master's at USF with Dr. Bill Campbell.
The greatest.
Best guy of all time. I started, this was also an exercise science, my research pretty much focused on dieting and eating behaviors. So I was learning about that, researching about that, actually doing real research. At this point, I had turned pro, and I picked up a few more clients before this, and then basically Lane and Paul were like, hey, like you need to make like a real business out of this. So I got like an LLC and like made like a Facebook, like bought a website, like did that whole
You're
thing.
You're legitimate now.
Yeah, I was legit.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this, like I said, very part-time for
So that wasn't
a
even
while.
your main income full
No,
at the time?
No,
You were
I was just
stuff.
doing like hit and miss, kind of like
Okay.
work, like whatever. I've been doing,
interesting, yeah.
I've been doing like, this was when like demos and stuff were big, like working within like, the industry for like events and stuff. Like I did that so much growing up. It was, not gonna lie, like back in the day, like that was the jam. Like you made good money, it was usually cash, and then I could work out. Like it was just like, you got like free supplements, perfect. So I was doing some coaching, some of that. And then after I turned pro, I was okay, I'll take on a few more clients. But school was always number one, but slowly started building it up. And then by the time I had graduated, I was now ready to take things on full time. So I've been doing this for a few years, part time, starting out, like I said, 3 to 5 clients, then I had maybe like 10, then maybe, by the time I graduated, I think I didn't have any more than like 20. Like it was like,
So
I don't have a lot.
your growth wasn't like every month you had like 10 more clients.
Oh, no,
right?
no. It was very, very
slow, yeah.
On purpose.
Same for me.
And then pretty much now, I've built it up more, but I'm not comfortable taking on more than a certain amount of people. And that number can fluctuate, but I'm just not comfortable with it. So pretty much, I started that, and then I was like, okay, full time, now this is what I'm doing. And I really actually didn't even know that I was gonna do that full time when I was in school, because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, same.
The normal thing, like, oh, is this gonna be a real career?
It's not a real job.
Yeah, pretty much. And then Dr. Campbell was like, hey, why don't you do it? And then you can always fall back into another job, afterwards. I was like, all right. So at this point now I have bachelor's and a master's, research experience, competitive experience.
So she's now got the personal experience, the practical experience, and the formal educational route, which is really powerful combination.
And that was really when I was like, okay, now I feel really comfortable doing this full time. So I decided to do that. And I graduated in 2016. So now it's been almost 3 years of doing this full time, and now I have the other coaches working as well. So really building it, building the brand. And like I said, it started really, really small. Like in 2013, that's when I started, and it was nothing.
It's been a 6-year process, which is
and that's why the growth has been sustained. And every year, I'm not bragging on my Instagram. Oh, I make 6 figures. Oh, I make 7 figures. Oh, by age.
You're not a 6-figure, like that's not your Instagram bio.
I'm not a multiple 6-figure business owner by age. What? Fuck out of here, man. Like, first of all, I'm not gonna share how much money I make with anybody. Like, that's not even appropriate, or like what needs to be said. And I get what I'm trying. Like, they're trying to show that they've made money, and I'm totally fine with people making money. Like, that's the goal of having a business: make money. It's been a very slow, sustained growth.
Right.
Because my goal is to be here. In the next 20 years, LocoFit's still going to be here.
So what is the LocoFit brand that you've been so consistent with?
So, really, it's just education. It's education, and whether that's through coaching, whether that's through social media, whether that's through speaking events, my philosophy is to redefine healthy within the fitness industry, what that means to each individual client for lifelong success. So that might be, at first it was only individual clients, like who I'm working with. Now I've branched out a little bit more social media, and I'm really trying to branch out with the speaking engagements. And even with my amazing sponsors that I work with, I do a lot of great content with them to kind of spread that message as well. The foundation and the cornerstone is educating people for the lifelong and really redefining healthy within their life. So using that quality is the most important thing, quality services above all. Really creating like an impact, not just being like flashy and trying to do what's cool and whatnot, no. And really getting people results.
So you'll notice if you guys follow her on social media that none of her posts are ever super like aggressive salesy. They're nothing about like trying to manipulate you into buying her services. Not that I'm saying you should never be a marketer at all. Like I think marketing is obviously very powerful. You need that to grow your business, obviously. She's been very intentional about conducting herself with integrity at all times. Every decision has been there's nothing shady going on, and for me, I think for me the biggest sign of someone's lasting success, is the fact is whether or not they've actually been consistent with their brand for years and years, not just months, but years and years and years, because it is hard. It's really hard to keep showing up 1 year after the next for 5 years plus, and then we know, like,
especially when it's slow. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. Like it's normal to feel almost, I guess, like the twinge of like jealousy, or like the twinge of like, man, I wish that was me, watching somebody rise really, really quickly, make a lot of money really quickly, be super popular, right? And we all get affected by that, right? And then we think, man, what if I did that? Like, what if I, short-sightedly decided to take that? And it might work out for them. They might have a business forever doing different stuff, but the chances of that, I would say, are probably a little bit slim.
Yeah. And
they're running more into the realm of, okay, in a few years they're gonna fizzle out.
Yeah.
So it is normal.
Absolutely.
If you feel that and you see that and you're like, oh shit. So it's very tempting to want to take the short, easy route sometimes. And you can totally reinvent yourself. I'm not against people reinventing themselves, because I feel like I've gone through multiple stages.
You can shift.
Yeah, shifting of what your focus is and what your message is, but your cornerstone mission should always be the same. Like,
Absolutely.
Redefine Healthy is literally on my logo because that's what it's here to stay. Like, Eat, Live, Thrive is here to stay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Mm-hmm. And you can change what that message looks like over time.
Totally.
But that's still the foundation.
Maybe my services will change, and maybe I won't do as much coaching anymore, but the mission is always for me, I want to help women and men all around the world, like, to lift weights and to eat, be smart about their nutrition, and prioritize their quality of life, and so on and so forth. So that's never going to change for me, but you're never going to see us, like, every week changing our brand and changing our brand,
changing how we present ourselves, or like changing who we associate with. Like, that is like so exhausting sometimes, especially with people with like other companies. You're like, oh my god, like, this one company can't be the best one this week, and then this next one is also the best. Like, you're like, wait, didn't you just, like, integrity is everything.
Because people, your followers, they notice things.
Yeah, people pick up on that.
Oh yeah, like really, really well. And so if you guys are feeling the pull, like you're jealous of someone's following, or you feel like you need to be doing what they're doing and it doesn't sit right with you, you don't have to go that way. I always believe that if you have integrity and you genuinely want to help people, especially with what we do with like online coaching, for example, and you're super consistent and you're very, very patient, I like to believe that you will eventually be rewarded. Maybe not next month or the next month after that, but eventually in time, just build it up nice and slow.
And it could look different for everybody. Like, some people will do this full time, and some people might have 5 clients for the rest of their life, and that works perfectly for them. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is going to have a certain type of business. And I think that's the other problem too, with whether it's social media or these events or whatever people are doing, is they all think they need to be doing the same thing. They all think they need to be doing a mastermind. They all think they need to be having coaching services. They all think they need to be, no, everybody can do something different.
And even with your social media, it's not like everyone's social media has to be all selfies. Like, I know I'm told that like some masterminds are like, your Instagram has to look like this. You have to do selfies nonstop. You don't have to do that. There's so many ways to build a successful following. And even if you have a low number of followers, low relatively speaking, like let's say 1,000, you can have a full-time business. There's no correlation between how many followers you have and how much money you make.
Sometimes there's like a negative. Sometimes people.
Totally.
The thing too with, I'll get frustrated with social media too. Like, oh, this post didn't do well. Like, it didn't get a lot of likes. But that doesn't necessarily correlate to everything, right? Because because likes do not correlate with engagement or actual like business. So you can post a picture in a bikini and get a lot more likes, just because naturally, like, that's what people oh my god, this looks cool, like, this looks great. Like, just gravitate towards a more visually representative thing. But maybe you make a post about, I don't know, traveling with like your protein powder. That might not get a lot of likes, but that could impact
that's
a lot
helpful.
more people.
Yeah, that actually helps people.
So, you have to consider those kinds of things. And I get frustrated with that all the time. Like, what the hell should I be posting? I'm not going to post a workout every day because that's just not how I roll. And some people do that, and that's totally fine. But you have to know what you like and what works for you. And again, what works for your brand.
So I know there's like stepping outside your comfort zone, there's that. But also but then besides that, there's doing things that does not feel right for you and makes you really uneasy, but you do it anyway because people are telling you to do it and you think that's the thing to do to gain followers, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Hopefully, the two of us can be like two small voices in the industry that are telling you,
two small loud voices.
Yeah, small and loud voices, that you don't have to follow the crowd. You don't have to follow whatever the latest trend is if you don't feel like that aligns with who you are and what your mission is.
Never do something that you don't feel comfortable with, because that will always bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
And yes, everybody makes mistakes, but at the end of the day, if you do things with the right intentions and always try to be truthful, then you will always, you still might fuck up even in that instance, right? Like everybody makes mistakes, right? Even
you'll make so many mistakes.
You might say the wrong thing, or you might do the wrong thing or whatever, but if you think, like, you're not trying to be malicious about it and then you correct it afterwards, then always do the right thing. Always be truthful.
Yeah.
Just don't lie.
The other thing I will say too is, I know, like, Lauren and I were similar in that we've been online coaching for a long time, and then we now have coaches working under us. I know a lot of people are aspiring to maybe eventually be in our position, but I don't think there's anything wrong with you being a coach for someone else also, where you're part of a bigger team, because there's someone has to do it. And I think in a lot of ways, I know a lot of people like that because there's less pressure, there's less responsibility. Like, you don't have to worry about getting the client applications rolling in. Like, that's not on you, that's on the head coach or whoever's the owner.
You're just managing everything.
So that can be really nice too.
Not everybody is supposed to be an entrepreneur, like, contrary
100%.
to Instagram belief.
Yep.
And
I feel very strongly about
I don't even like calling myself that sometimes. I'm like, I'm not really an entrepreneur, but I don't. Whatever the hell. I have a coaching business. It's not rocket science, right? Like, I mean, it's I'm not running a $2 billion business.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit different. It's still a business, but it's just different. So not everybody needs to be in that position, and I think right now it is being so glamorized.
Yes.
And
this past year in particular.
Yeah, there's a lot of pros, but there's a lot of cons. You know, like, and even we feel them.
And what bothers me is when people are, I don't think conned is the right word, but they're tricked into spending thousands they're told to max out their credit cards to pay for masterminds. They're told all these things, and then at the end of all their business coaching or their mastermind, they have nothing to show for it. Because they give, and maybe there are some good ones out there, but there are some masterminds who maybe they give you blanket advice and they push everyone to do the same thing. It doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah. I'll tell you that, and everybody, if you follow me, you know that I, like, make fun of mastermind. I've been to some before, and they can be very good.
Yeah.
The idea of a mastermind is getting together like-minded people to network and learn with each other.
And I'm all for community. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Go to a mastermind where somebody has actually built a real fucking business. Okay, I'm gonna say that, like, I'm gonna really
zoom in.
Yeah, building a real business. I mean, to show for it. Okay, not their business is not making masterminds. Okay, that's not. Yes, that's a business, but that's not a business mastermind I want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to see. Okay, what has this person done? Is it either in my field, or even if it's out of my field? Like, are they a successful person in a different way? Right. So, perfect example. Everybody knows I work with First Form. Andy Frisella is the CEO. Him and Mylett have created their own, super high level whatever mastermind. Mm-hmm. Those are two dudes I'm probably gonna want to learn from, right? Yeah. Gary Vee does the mastermind.
They have a legit business.
I'm probably gonna go to Gary Vee's mastermind. I mean, like these are just logical things. Even shout out to Jason Phillips. I went to his mastermind. Incredible, right? He has 15 coaches working under him. He's been in the industry for many years. He has different coaching certifications. I mean, he's not just like some schlump who just put this together, right? He didn't say, wake up one day and go, oh, I want to coach people to coach and have a like. You have something to show for it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those out there. So I'm not just shitting on them in general, right? It's the idea of you don't have a business and your business is actually just selling a course or a mastermind.
Yeah. So please.
So stop.
Don't sell yourself out. There is good that comes out of, again, having integrity and being super, super patient and super, super consistent with whatever it is that you're doing. And I genuinely believe you will be rewarded for that. So Lauren, where can we find you on social media?
Lauren Conlin, LAURIN CONLAN. So my name right, you'll find it.
Lauren with an I.
Lauren with an I. Pretty much, I would say the most active ones are definitely Instagram, you know, stories, and then YouTube. But where the hell
Where
this
are
is
we
gonna
on
be?
right now?
Oh my god, where are we? I don't even know. Are we in San Diego? On YouTube as well, Lauren Conlon. And then if you go to my site, we have a newsletter as well. You can subscribe to that too.
All right, thanks for tuning in.